my children because the babysitter has put them down for bed before I've come home. The time that I do have, the extra time that I do have, I'm not sharing with the school. My kids are mine during those hours. You know, between going to work, getting the kids ready for school, working on homework with them, having that romance with my husband, which is something very important to us. You know, the 2 o'clock in the afternoon holiday party for which I need to bring M&Ms is going to have to go. You know, I'm sorry. You know, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm leaving my office at 1 o'clock. I virtually only worked a few hours that day, and I haven't finished all my work. It's not going to work for me.
Do you feel judged by the other mothers, though? That I think it's peer pressure. It's not so much over scheduling. It's peer pressure.
Well, I've been very strategic in surrounding myself with other overworked mothers, so no one's going to judge.
I wonder if your article talks about this, is how many of these women are single parents? You know, part of this marriage article focused on the fact that women are having kids outside of marriage. In fact, some are doing it without a man. In other words, they are financially sound and able to have babies on their own. So they are. And in fact, look at these statistics. They were shocking to me. Among the various different demographics, they looked at the percentage of single parents, moms, basically. And among the white population, it went from somewhere in the 5-7% in 1960 to 29% in 2008. Among Hispanics, it went from somewhere around 30% to 53%. And then among the black population, it went from about 40 to 72%. Wow. So what it says is there's a lot more kids who are born outside of a traditional framework of marriage. That's not to say that it's a good or bad thing. I think you can make it work. But the fact is you have a lot more people who are born into a world where that parental structure, the two-parent home, just isn't their reality. So what is the likelihood of them growing up and wanting to get married because they didn't grow up in that structure in the first place?
Right. Well, you know, we're in the transition phase from what we consider traditional norms to a transition to, you know, what works for your family. Every family is different, and every family has to determine what's going to work for them. I can't do the PTAs, I can't do certain things, but conversely, I do what I can, and my kids see that, and I'm hoping, I mean, they're very young still, so I'm hoping that they appreciate what mommy and daddy do as opposed to what we can't do.
The peer pressure thing is important because now we have social networks, we have Facebook, we're twittering ourselves all over the place, so you're hearing what all the other moms are doing, what the other people are doing, and you sometimes do feel inadequate because you're not doing enough, or you're not twittering enough, or you're not putting your life on display as much. And I think it's a significant cause that will cause problems down the road. I mean, these are things we're going to have to keep an eye on.
I mean, my mother was one of those mothers who came on every field trip, did, you know, when they cut the arts program at my school, she stepped in and did art programming and teaching to all of the school kids. I mean, like, she was sort of Martha Stewart and out of control. But it's funny, when even as a child, I remember thinking, not every mother can do this, and so my mother is doing what a lot of mothers can't, and she's that's great that we can help.
Right. Well, so, and I think one of the points in the article too, there are a few parents who are doing all of this. It's not like many of the parents in the school, many of the mothers of the children attending the school are volunteering all these hours of time. It's really just a handful. So that handful feels a lot of pressure. And there is this kind of, I feel like I'm a good mother if I'm doing this. But at the same time, some of these moms were saying, I'm spending less time with my kids because I'm busy planning school activities. So now it seems like this is a disconnect.
And why does the school have to have so many activities? I mean, that's the other reality. I mean, really, do we have to have like cupcakes for every single kid's birthday and every month? And, you know, like that would be my issue. My friends who have children, it's like, oh, now there's this party and now I'm making cookies for this. Like, can't we just sort of wrap everything up into one party and just focus on school, maybe?
But school's boring. School's very boring. And you have to, you know, I mean, just, you know, you got to have parties. You've got to have that social interaction. I mean, my son's in kindergarten, and they're learning about how to cut out gingerbread men through a math project, like a math unit. And so one of the mothers came up with, well, why don't we teach them how to actually bake gingerbread men? Terrific. So this is something that's it's a fun activity to continue the learning process. So occasionally that happens, you know, but there have to be these sort of events to break up the monotony, if you ask me. It's just that we can't always be there.
And I think we have to get away from this concept of being the uber everything, right? The uber mom, the uber girlfriend, the uber wife, where you just expect it to do everything under the sun. The reality is you can sustain it only for so long before it falls apart. And I think there are high cases of depression amongst women, especially because they often feel not only underappreciated, but they don't spend any time on themselves, taking care of themselves, and they wake up one day and they're not very happy with the life they have and all the things that they're doing. We have to be careful to make sure that we portion our time such that it's equal, not to just people outside of ourselves, but to ourselves as well.
If we can't be happy with ourselves and we can't be fulfilled within ourselves, we can't then therefore give back to others.
And this is, I think, a specific problem with the Asian and other ethnic populations, because women have always sort of taken on the traditional role of the home, and now that we're also in the workforce, the balance sometimes isn't always there in their lives the way that it needs to be.
Well, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about charities. You know that there's been all kinds of fuss made about Ambani and the big house, and you kind of wonder what the wealthiest Indians are doing with their money, their philanthropic activities. I was really excited to read in BBC that, you know, Wipro, the big software company, the tycoon Azim Premji has committed to give $2 billion in Indian charities. Okay?
Billion with a B.
Billion with a B. His net worth is estimated at about $17 billion.
So really, he's not giving enough.
So, yeah.
Come on.
You know, percentage-wise.
How many billions do you
Those
need?
pockets are pretty deep.
Yeah, right.
Reach further, reach
What's he
further.
doing with the money?
He really wants to focus on education in India. One of the projects would be a university in Bangalore to raise the quality of teacher training in India. So the idea is really focusing on the rural India as well as education in India. There are 69 billionaires, did you know this, in India? And they have actually widely been criticized for not doing enough in terms of charity. And, you know, Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates and investor Warren Buffett have been going around the world. They were in China recently talking about the elite rich's responsibility
I love
to
what
give
that
back.
program is that he started, where he basically said to all the rich people in the world, you know, leave your legacy behind and donate half of your income to these nonprofit causes, which, you know, there's some peer pressure there too, because a lot of people who are not contributing, people are scratching their heads going, well, what are you doing with that money? You know, do you really, how much do you need to live your own life?
Well, it's really putting them under a microscope, don't you think? I mean, you can quietly not give your money away until Bill Gates comes knocking on your door and says, hey, I got a camera behind me. Can you donate some money?
Gates and Buffett are planning to go to India this year, and they really want to encourage the super rich in India as well to give back.
Don't you think there's a culture in India of giving back to community, though? I feel like that's something that is ingrained in our culture. And you actually just said something that made me think is, what about the people who are quietly giving money, who are quietly doing something good, who aren't rich or who are loaded and doing a lot of quiet things within their community to help them? Are these people doing it for the write-off and for the good press, or are they doing it because they're good people?
You know, I really don't care why they do it.
Sure.
Seriously,
You're right.
Ultimately, it benefits a charity. Ultimately, it's for the good. I don't care what your reasons are, tax write-off, publicity, what, you're giving your $2 billion? Give your $2 billion with a B.
Well, ladies, it was so much fun to be back again with you. I love this annual show with just women. Thanks so much for joining us.